And this will be the first presentation to give an overview and what is related to the science community, the global science community on MAGIC project. This will be presented by Yousef, who is the managing director of ASREN. His presentation, give me 1 minute, Yousef. He will be followed by Tiwonge Banda, who is my colleague from Ubuntunet Alliance. He will talk about the global science community. Then Tania from ReDClara will talk about the Colaboratorio, which is communication tools from the project. Then Rhea Kahale, he will talk about the flora of Lebanon at fingerprinting. We still have one other paper which is presented by Ibrahim Fathy. It's on biodiversity and informatics. Then the last presentation is not really on the topic, but is related to the global science community. It's on health, on e-health. But we think that it is very interesting paper that should be linked with the other 6 papers to be presented. So I would like to invite Yousef, who is going to talk about the MAGIC project as an overview, and the link with other papers will be presented. Yousef, you have the floor. Each of you introduce briefly himself, and 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes.
Actually, I'm preparing myself for 4 minutes.
Oh, so somebody will get 2 minutes additional for him. You have the floor.
Thank you. This way, maybe it's... I know that I've been just speaking too much today, so this is tomorrow you will not see. I will not be speaking, so you'll get it. So this is 30 seconds. Anyways, MAGIC is a global project that is interested in, where MAGIC comes. It's actually MAGIC. MAGIC is coming from middleware for collaborative applications and the global virtual communities. MAGIC. So it's and we are really doing MAGIC. It's a global project funded by the European Commission with partners you can see from all over the world, from the east to west, south to north, everywhere. We are all working together under the support of the European Commission to work on some objectives. Some of them will focus on the enabling mobility of people and the seamless access to the services that comes from providing EduRoam as an example, and the EduGain as a federation of identity to support the movement and the mobility of people. Also, we work also on providing services as cloud provisioning and trying to find the standards. I'm rushing, I know, to make it 4 minutes. The main focus for this session is global science communities, which is one of the work packages that focus on global science communities, which will be presented by my colleague Tiwonge. And we provide them with tools to enable collaboration that will be presented by other colleague from ReDClara, Tania. So we have 6 work packages. The first one, of course, about management. The others about platforms for mobility. As I said, we focus on EduRoam and EduGain. Cloud and groupware soft standards. It's something it's very difficult for me. Agreements on real-time collaboration, the global science communities, and the dissemination components. These are the partners. And from ASREN, we want to try under this project to implement EduRoam in at least 6 countries, and now we are doing good work in many Arab countries. Implement the Federation of Identity in other 3 countries. We have already IDP services in Oman. We have another one in Morocco and Algeria, and recently Lebanon. So there is progress in this. We are trying to also to deploy the community portal Colaboratorio, which will be presented very soon by my colleague in our region. So now, again, AUB is taking the lead on this. And the global science communities, our role on this to attract researchers to be. I'm happy that we have researchers in biodiversity for this session, and we have now e-health from the AUB. So simply, this is all what I want to do as a quick introduction and leave the floor for the scientists and the researchers to continue. But before that, I think, Pascal, if you want to invite the other speaker, I'm done. Who's next? Okay, everyone can operate just
Yes, the next paper will be presented by Tiwonge. Are you ready? So you have a floor. For the audience, I think what we will do is we go through the 7 presentations, then we open the floor for question, comment, and remark. So Tiwonge, you have a floor.
Okay, thank you very much. As introduced, I'm Tiwonge Banda. I'm in charge of the administration at Ubuntunet Alliance, and I also handle these special projects along with Chris. Where is Chris? Yeah, there he is. So, as presented, as presented by Yousef, I'm just going to concentrate on one component or one work package in Magic and talk about what we are doing. I will not spend too much time on this. This has already been handled, but I will begin from here. So what the other work packages in Magic are doing is to, as already presented by Yousef, is to consolidate or work on a marketplace of applications that improve or facilitate mobility of researchers. So the focus is on researchers, so all the other 3 or 4 work packages are concentrating on the hardware or the software or all the tools that are supposed to be used by researchers. So, but in work package 5, we concentrate on the researchers themselves. So at the beginning of the project, we had to define what these global science communities are. Imagine, maybe some of you know how organized the high energy physics community is. So they are like a global community of people that talk the same language of high energy physics. So we thought high energy physics, they are very organized, but maybe we need to have other initiatives in other fields. So we described global science communities as groups of experts. This could be researchers or academicians from different parts of the world, those people that have a common interest, working together on activities, sharing best practice, knowledge, and experience. So we went out to try to connect people like that, bring them together in a global environment where they can share experience, as well as groom others and share best practice. So what we did in the global science communities was to identify regional representatives from the partners. So that table shows the region, the organization that is partner in the project, and the person responsible for identifying research communities or end users. So for this region, for the Arab region, it's Yousef, the one who just presented before me. He is the one responsible for this region. The rest of the regions are as presented there. So then we sent out requests through the regional representatives, who in turn contacted the National Research and Education networks. I mentioned here specifically the WACREN focal points were very useful. WACREN is piloting these focal points. These are people not from the NREN, but people from the end users that act as a bridge between the NREN and the end user communities. It's being piloted in the Tandem project. So we used those focal points, and they were very useful in terms of identifying end users for the communities. So we sent them. Then we sent invitation letters to the people, asking them to join the communities, and then we also provided a platform on Colaboratorio, and Tania is going to talk about Colaboratorio just after me. And the other thing we did was to identify champions. You can agree with me that trying to put together communities like that, my background is environment, so. But I may not be familiar with the other communities, so we needed someone who is inside who understands the trending issues in the field to coordinate. So we identified champions, and I'm going to talk about them. So then we created, that's just snapshots of communities on Colaboratorio, the 4 communities that we identified. The 4 communities that we identified were e-health, biodiversity, environment, and remote instrumentation. So we have these 4 communities that we are supporting in Magic. The first one, e-health, is coordinated by Professor Luis Messina, who is the national coordinator of the National Telemedicine Network in Brazil. Then the biodiversity one, where we're going to spend a little bit of time here, is coordinated by Professor Jose Ramon Martinez from the Dominican Republic. And then the environment one is coordinated by Professor David Smith from the University of the West Indies. And the remote instrumentation one, which came was proposed by a community in Mexico, is coordinated by Professor Santiago. So what these communities is, we let them be as they want. We don't impose things on them, but we let them be. We let them do things as they want. But we provide as a service from the project funding opportunities. So there is these alerts that come. They are also on Collaboratorio, which Tania will show us. So they give funding opportunities. They also share ideas and information through virtual events or webinars, or however we can call them. We have had a number of them. The most recent ones were for the e-health. We called them the e-health grand round. We are told that this ground round phrase is commonly used in the health system. They talk about grand rounds all the time when they share experience. We also had sessions to do with remote instrumentation in medical applications. We had a webinar on science communication, and we are planning a webinar on Horizon 2020 funding opportunities. This will focus on the ICD 39 core on the 15th, if not 15th, I think, of December, in the next 2 weeks. So all the presentations, videos, and everything, they are recorded and they are stored and they are available. Whoever needs to access them can access. But our ultimate idea is we would want to see these global science communities. We would want to see a project come out of the global science communities that can keep things going forward. So here, this is just a snapshot of the e-health ground round that we had on child and adolescent health. We had this during the month of September and the first half of October. The same one, that's just a snapshot of Professor Antonio Ribeiro presenting on telecardiology in a large public telehealth network. This is just an example of the events that we've been having. Now, coming to the one on biodiversity. We were privileged when we sent out invitations for people to join. Professor Moawad, who is here, accepted to join, so he is going to talk about his experience and other things. We had the first meeting on biodiversity on the 11th, I think, of February. Then we had a follow-up event on the 5th of May, which we called it Experience from Around the World, and we had Professor Moawad present his work, and another presenter from from Brazil, another presenter from, I forget, one European country. So it was a real experience sharing from around the world. The biodiversity community has 36 members from 17 countries, from 4, I think, continents. That's the room. This one is the room that's the room on Collaboratorio that they use, that the biodiversity community uses for events. So this is one of the events that we had with the biodiversity community. I think it was on the experience sharing event, people talking about different things. So now, lessons. We have learned that these global science communities are a forum or a platform where people with special interests come together. It removes this isolation of researchers. Instead of, for example, someone graduates from school and or is an expert in one field, but when they go to one part of the world, instead of being isolated, these global science communities enable them to connect, to be part of what is happening in the community. So these global science communities are removing isolation. But then one thing we have noticed that there is low participation from the Arab world as well as from Africa, and this is why today we bring this message to the ASREN region, that we need more participation from this region. We need more dissemination. We need interest from the community. We need. At one point, I was posing this as: are these issues, are these reasons that are causing low participation? But today, I would want to present them as some of the things we need to do. But I am, for the connectivity one, ASREN is working on this together with the NRENs. And the tools, the universities and the NREN and ASREN need to work on this. But we need to bring more participation. NRENs also need to catch up in terms of putting up the infrastructure that is required to support, because we talk about connectivity all this time, but when we begin to move away from that, we need to make sure that it boils down to these end user communities that we need to talk about. So we need to make sure that the infrastructure is there. So NRENs, please focus on the connectivity and the identity providers and all the necessary tools for research to thrive. In terms of closing the gap, we need to make sure that it doesn't just stop on connectivity, but we need to make sure that we are able to reach out to the end users. Otherwise, we can get connectivity from telecom companies if it's just about connectivity. But I believe it's not just about connectivity; it's about end users. So we need to focus on what end users need. Now I pose this question: how can we bring more participation from this region in the global science communities? Because I believe there is a lot to share from this community, from this region. And participation is open. It's open. Whoever wants to participate, the door is open. So how can we bring more participants from the ASREN region? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tiwonge, for this very informative presentations. I think we may have some questions, but as I said, we will wait at the end of all the presentation, then we make a question or remark. The next presentations is on the Colaboratorio, and is Tania. Tania is working for ReDClara with the South America Regional Research Education Network. You have it.
Thank you, Pascal. Hello. I'm too short also, so I hope you can see me. Yes. Well, okay. Well, as they said, I think some of you may know me. I'm Tania Altamirano. I'm the Communities Coordinator in ReDClara. This is just about short information about my institution. ReDClara is the regional network in Latin America. We have 13 countries connected to the network, and we are working in this magic project where we enhance the use and we promote this collaborative platform called Colaboratorio, which, as you can see, is a collaborative tool that we have to support and enhance the work of research and academic groups. This is the current main page of the platform where it's now being used, but it has different deployments currently that has been adopted for different networks. In this moment, Renata, for example, in Colombia, Seria in Ecuador, CaribNet in the Caribbean, WACREN in Africa, has been deployed their own platform. That means that they can personalize, they can have their own look and feeling, and they can have their own content. We offer them a basic platform, but they can also adapt it and adjust it to the things that they work with their own communities. Also in this moment, as in his presentation mentioned, Yousef, we are working with some of the ASREN institutions to make a local deployment for the Colaboratorio. Also in the morning we heard something about it. This is an image where you can see how the different networks personalize the platform. They can use their own logo type, they can use their own news channel. They have different tools that they can include, the ones from them and the ones that we offer. In this moment, Colaboratorio is being used by more than 400 communities from around the world in different fields, because we have art, e-health, science, physics, different kind of areas that they come to the platform, they open a community, they create content, they share it, and they use one or they pick the tools that they need to use. So what can you do in this platform? We have different, as I've mentioned, possibilities through the offer tools. We have a large file transfer system. We have, in fact, two options. We have a founding and partner system. We have a desktop video conference service. We have a space open for communities. We have a global agenda for events, and we have a system to schedule meetings called Furo. All are tools that are being implemented from different networks. That means they are created and developed in different parts of the world, and they are being included in Colaboratorio. That's a good example on the collaboration that we are trying to make on this platform. In the file sender, as I mentioned, we have two different tools developed, one by the Italian network GAR and one from the French network Nader. They are both for file transfer with different qualities. One for big files that is really simple, and the one from Nader that allows you also using your groups and your IDP in the manager of the fields. This is a really secure way of sharing documents and files that is open from the platform. We also have this founder and partner system where we feed with different codes from all the resources, and the users registering Colaboratorio, they receive an alert by email according to their profile, where they select the categories, their interest, and they receive an alert on funds open that they could be interested in. We also have this Businesspresso web conference system. That is what we use in the meetings with the global science communities, as Tiwonge mentioned. With these tools, well, this is open to all of our users and communities. You can have meetings with someone from around the world. You can share your desktop. You can upload presentations. You can record the sessions. You can interact in different levels and with different possibilities. And it is open for the communities. It is open. You have your own virtual room when you are in Colaboratorio. And you also have one for the communities you are registered in. This is an example of one of the activities with the eHealth community. This is our champion, Professor Luis Messina. And as you can see in this part of the screen, you can see the participants. You have here the presentation. You have here an interactive chat when all participants can talk and ask questions. We have here the video part, and we have also here notes to take. This can be, as I mentioned, recorded, and you can also look for the presentation of the speaker. For the communities, we have this big space where you can be part of the existing communities, or you can create your own one. That means that you can get inside the platform, look for the topic of your interest, and join one of the current communities. Or you can call your partners and create your own one and start using the tools. This is the look of one of our communities, the space. As you can see, it has the description. It has different interactions between the members. We also have the space to upload documents, photos, to make announcements, to start discussions. It gives a complete and interactive space where our users can have all the resources in one place. It's open, it's simple, and we offer them training when they want to use it. So if you have any further questions or comments, please contact me.
Very much, Tania. So the next presentation is Rhea Kahale. Is pronounced well done? Okay. You are the project manager at St. Joseph University of Lebanon, and you are going to talk about the flora of Lebanon at your fingerprints. Come, you have the floor.
Hi everyone. So my name is Rhea Kahale, and I'm presenting the St. Joseph University of Beirut. I'm going to introduce to you today the Lebanon Flora project. So, as we all know, Lebanon occupies a really small portion of the world's land surface and is home to 1.111% of the world's plant species. And the Mediterranean basin is the second largest biodiversity hotspot in the world. And Lebanon has a really high density of plant species. The reason behind this high biodiversity actually, is because of its location. Lebanon is considered a crossroad between the Mediterranean region, the Saharo-Saharian and the Irano-Turanian regions. And from a micro scale, Lebanon has 5 distinctive geomorphological regions, such as the Mount Lebanon, the Anti-Lebanon, the Bekaa Valley, the south of Lebanon, and the coastal zone. And each of these regions, they have a specific climate zone, and each of these climate zones have a different plant species. So whenever we say biodiversity hotspot, we directly think about irreplaceable and endemic species. Lebanon has more than 90 endemic species only to Lebanon. The reason behind the endemism could be sometimes the genome size or even the chromosome numbers. So the St. Joseph University team started the field work since 2001, and we aimed at identifying and assessing the plant species found in different locations in Lebanon. While on site, we also collected some seeds because the seed bank at the university deals with all type of germination protocol. Sometimes we deal also with the type of dispersal and type of fruits. And once the data were enough, the need of having georeferenced and time-stamped records of the Lebanese species has emerged. And we intended to show the native Lebanese species in a user-friendly and image-rich database. So I'm going to show you a really small video, about 2 minutes, explaining the main steps that we followed to come up with this, to build this database. It's not working. I'm gonna show you the slides. Okay. So the database was built through 3 major steps, and each step was financed by a different type of organism. The first step was the field work, and we installed the IT infrastructure, and this is what it looked like the first version. The second version aimed more at the scientific studies, such as the genome size and the chromosome numbers, and we started the cartography work. It looked like this, the second version. And finally, we strengthened the IT structure, and we added all type of information, and we obtained the 4th and final version of the database. You can access actually each species by its scientific name or even common name, and sometimes, but you can access the species by the color of their leaves, the altitude range, and also you can search each protected area and see which type of plant species are present there. Each species has its name, bibliographic references, ecology, genetics, its presence in a herbarium. So the start point was actually the species, but we ended up with a higher approach, which is the ecosystem and the community. With the help of different contributors, where we came up with the species mapping tool. This species mapping tool actually helped us to make out a map showing the historical data that we found in the bibliographic references, and we added all the data that we actually have seen on site in order to come up with the important plant area index, which is the IPA of Lebanon, the most vulnerable regions in Lebanon that has the highest diversity. And this could help us actually identify the conservation methods that we have to do to conserve all the plant species, and especially the endemic ones. This work is the result of the effort of the management board, the scientific board, the technical board, and the contributors that I already mentioned. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Professor Ibrahim Fathy. Professor Ibrahim Fathy is associate professor from Ancient University of Egypt. He's one of the strong and good universities in Egypt. I did some work with Ancient University when I was at the Association of African Universities. And so I have a very good memory for Ancient University. And you are going to talk about biodiversity and informatics, particularly on scientific data management. You are welcome.
Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be with you today, and thanks ASREN for this organization and for invitation. Data is gold, especially the biodiversity data. But we manage data. Do we plan for our experiments? Do we describe our data and preserve it for later use? Even by ourselves? All of these processes and others is called scientific data management. We got this experience from our partnership in Biodialogue project. We are 3 Arabian universities, both Ain Shams and Asyut from Egypt, and Sfax from Tunisia, and the German side is Jena University. But before I'm talking about our experience, let's talk about my affiliations. I'm associate professor at Ain Shams University. Ain Shams is the 3rd university after both Cairo and Alexandria. It was founded in July 1950 under the name of Ibrahim Pasha, and then its name was changed to Heliopolis in 1954, and in the same year it changed to Ain Shams. Ain Shams means the sun eye. Ain Shams started with 8 faculties, and now we have 17 faculties and 2 postgraduate institutions. My second hat, I'm the manager of the session support system in Supreme Council of Universities. It's a governmental body that plan, coordinate, and supervise the higher education in Egypt, especially the governmental education. In addition to many administrative departments, it has the Egyptian Universities Network, in addition to the MIS and session support system that I lead. Going back to my presentation, the Biodialogue project was motivated by a recent study that ranked the countries in terms of biodiversity informatics. Actually, this study has been done according to 3 criteria. The first one, the biodiversity potential. The biodiversity potential measure to how far the country is reached with biodiversity. Secondly, the capacity of this country to generate raw data with high quality. Thirdly, the ability of this country to host, manage, share the biodiversity data records. The study showed that Germany was ranked as 12, Egypt as 88, Tunisia was ranked as 103. And I think you have great role in this area, especially in the 3rd criteria. So in our Arabian countries, we need more education and research in both biodiversity and biodiversity informatics. There are 4 main objectives for biodialogue. The first one is to understand biodiversity in our local context. Secondly, is to construct new regional research groups and networks in biodiversity and biodiversity informatics. Thirdly, is to contribute in the development of knowledge-based society. Finally, to bridge the gap between the data management techniques and biodiversity research. Actually, we are achieving those objectives by exchanging our staff members from our universities to Germany and to exchange also both PhD and master students to Germany. And here is the main biodialogue PI, Prof. Birgitta Kongris and her team. And here is our kickoff meeting. It was 2 years ago. And by the way, we have just received the acceptance of another 2 years. We did those objectives by doing some activities like staff training in Germany, like studying our students at Germany. They actually studied 2 main courses. We are sharing in development project together and ensure the intercultural communication skills was present. And here is our visiting to biodiversity experiments. As you see, this is called Jena experiment. It's one of oldest biodiversity experiments in Europe. I think it has 10 years ago. And here we visited the whale valley in Egypt. You believe that this is a stony skeleton of a whale. It's 40 million years ago. And here's the petrified forest. And this is the stony tree stem. It's 35 million years ago. To bring the project members and the interested people, we did 2 workshops. The first one was at Asyut University, and second one, it was 15 days ago at Sfax in Tunisia. Let's talk about biodiversity informatics. Biodiversity informatics is interested in, it's a bridge between the biodiversity science and biodiversity science and informatics science. So as computer scientists, we should avail both tools and the application to manage, disseminate, analyze, share, publish, and discover biodiversity data and hence knowledge. The role of biodiversity informatics is to integrate the biodiversity data from different sources, like experiments, distributions, satellite data, etc. Have you been in this situation? Have you been frustrated from one of those situations? Data lost, no information about sharing and use policy, data sets with errors, data not discoverable, even you did it by yourself, data not understood, data not reused, no proper storage facility. Actual biodiversity informatics has many applications. For example, it can help in prediction of distribution of known and unknown species. It can help in prediction of geographic and ecological distribution of infectious diseases, in prediction of species invasions, assessment of impacts of climate change on biodiversity. This is a model that is followed by most researchers in the Arabian area, which is called publish and forget. Most of researchers collect their data by any way and store it in what's called temporary storage, like Excel sheets, without any ensure of quality of the data, and then publish a paper and forget the original data. The most important thing. Do you know that we have now specialized and international journals specialized in data? How did you collect the data? How did you ensure the data quality? And then this data is published like a research paper. Here is the new model that I like to talk about. It has 8 steps, starting from the plan step, to analyze a step. It's a conceptual model that lets scientists and researchers to understand the different steps that data follow from data generation to knowledge creation. Initially, in the planning step, I should define each point in details. And by the way, we should follow the institutional and founder requirements. And there is some tool called the mptool.org. In this step, I should define what are the data that answer my research questions. In second step, so the output of this step is a plan to be executed in the next steps. In the collect step, what tools can I use for data collection? Is it manual or automatic or semi-automatic? How can data be collected automatically? Which methods and standards do I want to use? The most important thing is to answer 5 questions, which is called the collection protocol. What is the data needed to answer my question? Where I collected the data. When I collected the data, who is responsible to collect the data? Finally, how? What are the methods that I use to collect the data? And here's some snapshots for many types of data collection. The third one, the data quality. I should check the quality of data. The most important thing in this step is to ensure that I have accessible, accurate, complete, consistent, relevant, comprehensive, easy to use, and easy to interpret data. Because you know garbage in, garbage out. And here's some example of data with low quality. Concerning the describe step, I should describe my data, which is called the metadata. I should augment my data with the metadata to answer the 5 questions. This metadata is used after that by me and by other researchers to find my data set. So, and here's the preserve step. I should ensure that I preserve my data in a structured data source, in a relational database. For example, there is Bangia, is a portal that let researchers to upload their data sets to be used by me and by other researchers. In the discovery step, I may search for other data sets to complement my data set. So I have integrated data sets. But the problem, and by the way, there is GFPIO. It contains about 400,000 data sets. And here's the problem of integration. You know that when I have many data sets, heterogeneous data sets, I need some terminology. I need some vocabulary. I need ontology, which means the conception of realization. After I have integrated data sets, one of them is mine and the other of other researchers, here I can do analyze to get the knowledge, to get the results, to be published later. There is 2 main types of analysis. The first one is called statistical analysis. The second one is called analytical analysis. Statistical analysis using statistic based. On the other hand, the analytical techniques use machine learning, data mining, knowledge discovery, regression, and there is good tools for that. The R tool, Weka, MATLAB, etc. And here's the visual analytics. And here is the good news. Actually, the German site implemented good platform called Pixis. And now they have Pixis 2. Pixis 2 is a platform that can manage all the steps of scientific data management lifecycle. They have fund, another fund, and and we agreed with them to host this an instance of this system in the Egyptian universities network to be used by European university through ASREN. So this system is modular, flexible, scalable, free, and open source, by the way. We can add on it. focus on tabular data, but it should be later on focus on multimedia data. Focus on data integration and reusability. User-defined data structure. So the researcher can define his own data structures and can use other researcher data structures. Reuse of data structure and data attributes, data sets versioning, and views. And there is some snapshots of BICSs. Finally, thank you for your listening.
Rhea, is that your video?
Okay, so it's another video. Anyway, so I was saying thank you, Professor Fathy, for your presentations. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think ASREN should take it very seriously because we need the scientific data management. And sometimes even when you publish and you don't follow the protocol, you lose the copyrights and you cannot even come back. That is very interesting. If we are moving from bandwidth to more services to our members, it's really interesting. The next presentations is Manuel Nader. Is it wrong? Okay. We are going to talk about mapping potential responsible hunting area in Lebanon. You are from the Institute of Environment of University of Balamand in Lebanon. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Since time is limited, I'll start with a conclusion. Sorry, it will not take that long, I promise. All right, first I would like, excuse me, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to show some of the work that we do by using the new technologies that exist in biodiversity and sustainable development. So what I'll be talking about basically is a project that we did in Lebanon for mapping potential responsible, what we are calling responsible hunting areas, given the fact that in Lebanon we hunt everything basically all the time, at any time. Even though the law states that hunting seasons, or we have no hunting seasons and you're not supposed to hunt, but you know how it is. So, why do we map, or why did we decide to map? We decided to map the hunting areas because we needed better understanding of the natural habitats and the physical and ecological characteristics of Lebanon regarding the new hunting law. Well, it's not that new. It was in 2004, but it's still new because it hasn't been implemented yet for the past 12 years. They have identified in Lebanon 16 species that we're allowed to hunt. 2 of them are mammals, which are the Cape hare and the wild boar, while all the rest are bird species. The purpose of all of this is to help decision makers and stakeholders understand the importance, location, and the spatial characteristics of what we call the responsible hunting areas. The expected outputs themselves, first and foremost, we at the Coastal Zone Management Program at the Institute were subcontracted by SPNL, which is a big NGO working on bird conservation, to produce potential habitat maps for the 16 game species. To develop what we call strategic maps. The first strategic map we developed was for the identification of potential responsible hunting areas on national scale. And we then developed a map for locating the 8 selected responsible hunting areas on national level. And then what did we do? I will see it later. That was based on complete coordination with the municipalities and local authorities. And we developed the detailed maps for each of the 8 identified hunting areas, including the boundaries on cadastral level. So basically, in terms of technology, what did we use? First and foremost, of course, we used our land cover land use maps through remote sensing technology. We applied the software, or we actually used the software like eCognition. We overlaid this with a digital elevation model. This data was available and processed at the Institute. Then on top of this, we laid another level of maps, which is the administrative map that included roads, urban centers, and all of these. These shape files are also available at the Institute and were provided to us by the CDR, the Council for Development and Reconstruction. Then we went into the remote sensing analysis of all of the information that we had, and we started with the classification and mapping of the areas of Lebanon. This was followed by what we call the image segmentation, where we generated polygons through the technology that we're using through remote sensing analysis to develop what we call the criteria table that is specific for each species. We exported the results in order to be able to produce the potential habitat of selected species layers, and we produced another layer that is where were these species reported in the field. So we had people in the field working on observation in order to actually validate that these species are available or present within these locations. Where's Skype here? Okay. So, and then we developed the information table for each species, and at the end the maps were produced using ArcMap or ArcGIS, if you like. So this is the type of table that was developed, that we based our research on. You see the order, the family, scientific name, the English name, and the typical species habitat. These were, if you want, the factors or the parameters that were inputted into the systems in order to actually identify the areas in Lebanon where these species are supposed to exist. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are there, but in principle, if we go to these areas, we should be able to find these species. And you see they were reported in either by the locals or by the bird expert that was in the field. In these following areas, this is a specific species that we're talking about, the Eurasian woodcock. And the topography of this area was also included, which is forest, ground, etc., birds, things like this. And you have this for the 16 species. So, for example, as a potential habitat for the Eurasian woodcock, you would see all of in the legend, you will see that all of the red spots we are expected to find, these birds over there. But as I said, it doesn't necessarily mean they are there, which means that we need validation from the bird expert and the locals. You also have other things that were there that we cannot actually declare as RHAs, like protected areas, like reserves, like Ramsar sites and things like this were all located on the maps. The first phase, we identified the potential areas that are suitable. This phase required the use of several layers, like I stated before. The 16 potential habitat layers for each species we developed were combined into one in order to define the occurrence of these species in each defined object. Layers were provided by SPNL, the NGO actually, and the hunting spots and important bird areas were also provided by SPNL for us to locate on the maps. These layers were provided by the Ministry of Environment, like protected areas, nature reserves, biosphere reserves, agriculture and urban areas, protected valleys. What you see here are actually the areas that were excluded from being declared as potential responsible hunting areas. The strategic map on national level, I'll just explain the legend. What you will see in black dots are the hunting hotspots, the important bird areas, the protected areas according to the Lebanese law, non-delineated nature reserves, other protected areas, etc. And down here you will see that we have the species occurrence. Here it's not by species name, but how many of the 16 species are present in a certain area. Then we will go about identifying the species that exist in these places. The second step, or the second phase, was locating the potential responsible hunting areas. Field investigations were carried out by the SPNL team and the bird expert. They provided the information regarding land ownership, because we have places where the species are present, but they are private lands, and therefore you need a special agreement with these individuals in order to use these lands for hunting. Or you would have to go with the public lands that the municipalities are supposed to provide the maps for. We selected, in principle, 10 potential responsible hunting areas, and these were shrunk to 8 because 2 of them, the municipalities, were not interested in actually participating in the process. So we added the location of the selected 8 responsible hunting areas to the strategic map where we could see where they fit. And this is where you would see the blue ones are the numbers of the blue ones that you see on the map are the responsible hunting areas that we would hope that the Ministry of Environment will adopt and start declaring. So this is also through GIS technology, all of this stuff. For the mapping, a map was prepared for each RHA, information and base maps, topographic maps, blueprints, CAD layers, Google Earth images, and satellite imagery that we have at our sites were gathered by the team and by the relevant municipalities. Each map comprised satellite images, land cover, land use, lower scale maps, and a table for the game species. All of these were to be able to develop maps for each area. I'll just give one example and go through all of the rest. What I would like to point out in this map, this is for Munjiz Akkar, for example, you will see that the table that is there is a list of the 16 species. The first column, does this area have the existing habitat for this species or not? The second column would be the species, was it observed by SPNL, the NGO who we're working with? And the third column, were these species cited by locals? The interesting thing to find is that out of the 16 species, only one species was actually fit all the three criteria. That the habitat is there, it was observed by the expert, and the locals observed it. And you will see this repeating itself. And this showed us that either the locals are not aware of what is there, or the species was missed, or the potential habitat is just not occupied, and therefore we need to go into conservation in order to bring these species back. So these are the 8 ones. The bottom map over there, you will see where it is located within Lebanon, according to the at Gaza level. So this is on the Syrian border, for example, where the Great River passes, or Nahr al-Kabir. Another area is Andit with the same parameters, but the colors, or what you see as colors, has to do with the representation of the land cover, all right, and the land use of the area. What type of forests there are, is it grassland, is it deciduous trees, etc., etc. And we go for all 8. The challenges that we experienced in all of this, and this is where technology I think should play a major role, is that most municipalities did not provide the requested base maps. Many of them just did not have them digitized or did not have them in CAD layers, so the information itself was not there to be processed. Some municipalities sent files, maps, lacking coordinates. We just had a map with some lines on it and the number of the plot. But then, where is it? What are the coordinates? We just could not know. So we had to spend a lot of time with the municipalities in order to be able to get this detailed information, to pump it into the systems or into the applications or the softwares to produce the results. And we secured all of this, and we ended up producing what you have seen in the maps. In conclusion, we know that this technology or maps will help facilitate the adoption of the identified responsible hunting areas. Maps are considered a national scientific database that would link the game species to its existing habitats on national scale. Local authorities are highly encouraged to digitize and georeference their cadastral maps, with special emphasis on developing land use, land cover maps through GIS technology. Should base our future amendments, updates of hunting laws and practices, taking into consideration these maps, because we have the habitats on national level, and it was easier for us to do it using GIS than to actually validate all of this in the field. The responsible hunting area should be declared by law, paving the way to the full implementation of the hunting law in Lebanon, 580/2004. And once these responsible hunting areas are declared, hunting should be prohibited anywhere or in any other area or region on the Lebanese territory, specifically under the windows and the balconies of people in villages, because you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning at somebody shooting at your window just because a small bird was passing by. So in conclusion, technology was essential for us to reach our objectives very efficiently. It allowed the grouping of several parameters for identifying habitats for the species. It allowed the location of potential habitats for game species at national level. It extensively reduced the time and effort of fieldwork and the subsequent analysis of the data that was required. Just think on national level, if we had to look at all of the habitats and just walk all around and try to identify seasonalities and things like this, it would take us more than 10 years to do this, while with this technology we were able to do it in 5 months. It allowed the integration of information from several sources with different methodologies into one product, and this is a big problem with science. If you don't standardize methodologies, you cannot go through comparisons. But this type of technology allowed us to be able to overlay all of these. It allowed visualization of the products in a summarized, highly informative and presentable fashion. It does make an impact when you see a map with colors and a legend that's easily understandable. It created a database that can be easily updated and or used for future products or be used for any other species on top of the 16 that we have already seen. And as previously stated, the absence of such technology at municipal level represented a fundamental challenge for sustainable development and biodiversity conservation on national level. So I hope that I did it quickly enough. So thank you very much for listening and take questions later. Thank you.
Thank you for this presentation. You were on time. This takes us to our last presentations. Our last presenter is Ghassan Suleiman. Are you here? Yes. Okay. Ghassan Suleiman, he is the chief of plastic and reconstructive surgeons at American University of Lebanon. And you are going to talk about where surgeon meet augmented reality. You have a floor.
Thank you very much. Let's see how I can access my... It shows who's the non-IT specialist here. Okay.
You are a good user of technology.
I am a user of technology, not
Okay.
Okay, well, you'll see now the technology that we use. So I have no financial interest in this software. The reason why I'm excited about it is it comes at a time when the Lancet Global Surgery Commission highlighted the fact that 100 million people around the world have unsafe surgery every year. And we have now been using this software to support colleagues in the Gaza Strip, and we now use it as a teaching tool for both undergraduate and postgraduate medical education. So why does this software help? Really, with the most basic of hardware, which is an iPad to iPad, you are able to visualize the surgical field where your colleague has the camera of the iPad or something more sophisticated pointing at the surgical field, and you remotely are able to draw on your iPad where the incisions or cuts need to be made, and really take a colleague through a in New York, and the other surgeon was in Beirut, and they were able to accurately go through the surgery with the remote surgeon drawing the incisions and the surgeon at the AUB following these incisions. The condition is cleft lip and palate. So, how does this technology help? Well, it reduces expenses because experts can provide help from distances, and therefore reduces cost, reduces pressure on the infrastructure, and as a result of decreasing opportunities for surgical training in the Northern Hemisphere, it really allows more interaction with leading experts. Billions of people lack adequate surgical care or safe and well-timed surgery, and only 6.3 of the estimated 312 million surgical procedures go to the poorest third of the global population. And so what we believe is that this software will allow us to provide outreach, training and support for surgeons around the world. Covered extensively by the world's media, and we believe that luckily at the AUB we are really at the kind of cusp of what is a new wave in the use of virtual augmented reality in surgery. Much more and more institutions in the UK and around the world are using it. And I think this is the way forward for all of us. Now it's being used across the globe, from Gaza to Vietnam. Surgeons in the UK have been able to guide surgeons in Vietnam on facial deformity surgery and cleft lip and palate surgery in Peru, and reconstructing war-injured surgeons in Gaza.
I think we are closing now.
So
Yeah.
allow me to speak something.
Okay. Close the session.
Join me thank the chair and the speakers who managed the session. So two things. The first thing, we have the shareholders meeting of ASREN, so it will be in room 301 upstairs. This is one, so it's the 4 shareholders, but you are all your partners, so everybody is interested, you is welcome to join. The second thing, there will be a cocktail at 6:30, yes, just in 45 minutes downstairs. So you are all invited also. We will start tomorrow at 9. Maybe there will be minor changes in the agenda. I will send it tonight for everybody. So by this we conclude today. I know it's a very long day and too many presentations, but really the last session I enjoyed every single slide. So I would like to thank the speakers again. And please, the speakers, just wait for 2 minutes to have a group picture for magic dissemination. And the rest you can do now. Thank you.